Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're watching this right now, I'm guessing you might be feeling the pure exhaustion of modern parenting. Am I right? Society puts this incredibly heavy, almost impossible pressure on us to raise the perfectly successful child. We imagine spending years just carefully curating every detail of their lives, only to realize far too late that what they needed most wasn't all that pressure or perfect planning or getting into the most expensive schools. What they actually needed was just your warm presence, a hug, a calm voice, a face that simply says, "Hey, you're safe here." So let's dive right into this, because today we're going to unpack a profound paradigm shift that is going to take a massive weight off your shoulders.
It's so easy to fall into this trap. We look around and buy into this myth. We really think babies wake up asking for better toys, a more impressive daily schedule, or some advanced early learning plan. But the reality is entirely different. What they actually want, what they are literally biologically wired to crave, is love, connection, and your presence. That is the whole shebang. It's incredibly liberating to realize that in those early years, emotional safety is the absolute bedrock. It is the foundation on which everything else is built. Language grows on it, confidence grows on it, curiosity grows on it.
All right, moving into section 1, the modern parenting trap. We are so often chasing the exact wrong target in our achievement-obsessed world. The hustle of daily life is just constant, isn't it? Every single minute feels like it has to be optimized, scheduled, productive. We're rushing from activity to activity, tracking milestones, and comparing progress in this desperate attempt to provide more. But here is the real truth. Being there matters more than doing more. I really want you to let that sink in. When you cuddle them, when you hold them, respond to their cries, or honestly just smile when they look at you, you are doing deep, foundational developmental work, even if it looks to the outside world like you are doing absolutely nothing. Not every single moment needs to be an educational flashcard moment. Not every minute requires productivity. Sometimes simply sitting beside them on the floor, that is enough.
Which brings us to section 2, the power of simple presence and how we actually build that foundation of emotional safety.
So, why does just sitting on the floor matter so much? Well, because that simple presence communicates an absolutely vital message to a developing brain. It tells your child, I matter, I am seen, and the world is safe enough for me to explore. This leads us to a super fascinating piece of developmental psychology called social referencing. Think about it. How do you actually know if you are your child's safe place? It happens in quiet, everyday moments. Imagine a sudden loud sound happens. Maybe a dog barks out of nowhere or a stranger walks into the room. What does your child do? They look at you first. Why? Because your face literally becomes their map of reality. If you stay calm, they borrow your calm. If you smile, that perceived danger suddenly becomes manageable. But if you panic, the world feels unsafe to them. This mechanism where they use your reactions to gauge the whole world is just extraordinary to witness. And here's another incredible concept, the secure base. Picture this. Have you ever been in a park and your child runs off to play, but then suddenly they stop, turn around, and look back just to check if you're still sitting on that bench? When you wave back, they happily go right back to playing? That is them using you as a secure base. They're out there exploring the world confidently because of your presence, not despite it. It's actually a massive biological compliment when they check back in with you like that. It means their safety anchor is holding strong.
Now, here is the crucial takeaway, and honestly, a huge wave of relief. You do not need to be flawless to provide this anchor. Research consistently points to a very comforting concept called good enough parenting. Children do not need perfect parents. They need good enough parents. And what does that actually mean? It means being a caregiver who is responsive, loving, and consistent over time. It means you absolutely do not need to be available every single agonizing second of the day. You just need meaningful moments of real presence. That is enough. Actually, scratch that. It's more than enough.
Okay, moving right along to section 3, signs of secure attachment. Let's talk about how to recognize those quiet, everyday moments of trust.
So how does all this psychological science physically show up in your living room on a random Tuesday? Let's ask a question that almost every parent has agonized over at some point. Have you ever noticed that your child can be perfectly well-behaved for a babysitter, a teacher, or a grandparent, but the literal second you walk through the door, they completely fall apart? They cry most intensely with you? A lot of caregivers misunderstand this. They think, man, why are they worse with me? What am I doing wrong? I must be failing. But this brilliantly illustrates the biggest plot twist in parenting. It actually means the exact opposite of failure. They trust you enough to show their full feelings. They know that you are safe enough for the ugly cry, the total meltdown, all that raw emotion they've been holding in all day long. That intense crying, that is absolutely not a failure on your part. That is profound trust. You are their safe space to completely let go.
Let's quickly summarize these behaviors so you know what to look for. Here are 3 clear signs of secure attachment. First, looking at you first when startled. That's that social referencing we just talked about. Second, the raw emotional meltdown. That's them trusting you with their biggest, messiest feelings. And third, perhaps the absolute most beautiful sign of all, reaching for you when nothing is wrong. Think about it. They aren't hungry. They aren't hurt. They aren't scared. They just want you. Grasping your hand while watching a movie or just leaning against your leg while you're in the kitchen. That right there is love in its absolute purest form.
Next up is Section 4, Raising Resilient, Happy Children. It's all about choosing inner well-being over outward success. As we look at the long game, we carry so much pressure, right? Pressure about marks, performance, comparison, labels. We tend to categorize kids as the calm child, the smart child, or the difficult child. But here is the reality we just have to accept. No 2 children are the same. They come with their own unique temperament, their own wiring, their own sensitivities. Schools might teach subjects, but life teaches resilience. Marks for sure do not define a child. How they handle disappointment, how they recover from a failure, how peaceful they feel inside, that matters far, far more in the long run. So how do we actually nurture this resilience? Number 1, if they fail, focus on their effort, not the grade. Number 2, if they're struggling, stand beside them. Don't just jump in and fix it for them. And number 3, if they're hurting, listen before lecturing. And please, whatever you do not make every single struggle a verdict on your own parenting. Some things are growth, some things are just their temperament, and some things are simply life.
It all really boils down to this incredibly powerful realization. Ordinary children who feel loved often grow into extraordinary adults. Allow your child to be ordinary. Now, I know that might sound a bit radical today when everyone is pushing to be exceptional, but it really is the truest path to long-term well-being. If you ever find yourself having to choose between outward success and their inner well-being, choose wisely. Because let's remember, even success is usually pursued in the hope that it'll eventually bring happiness. So why sacrifice their present happiness just to chase it?
I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. One day, years and years from now, your child may forget the specific toys you bought them. They'll definitely forget the rigid schedules, and they will for sure forget the report cards, but they will absolutely remember how it felt to be with you. So the real question you should be asking yourself at the end of a long, tiring day is not, am I doing enough? The real question, the only one that truly matters, is this: does my child feel loved, safe, and deeply seen? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helps you find a little more peace in your parenting journey today.